Hey everyone, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel. This is your reading for the collective for the upcoming week. I guess we're covering the 31st of July until about the 8th of July or so. I'm excited to be here with you guys, and this is a very special week, and I've been so excited to tell you about this. I was going to make an extended video, one of those special videos that I've been making recently, but those just take extra time, and in order to honor my experience of this transit, I'm sort of going with a live session and going to just share this information to you with off the top of my head, and it's not going to be really edited or anything. So I'm sorry if I get some things wrong or if I miss a part. It's a lot of information. I would have much preferred to do a very specific, video with specific words and so forth. But this is what we've got, and this is better than nothing. So first introduction, we are under very special transit as we speak, and this transit started yesterday and will continue until the 3rd or 4th of August. So I'll tell you guys, this is what this whole video is about, and that's why I called it the perfect sky. You guys are gonna love this message, you're gonna love this transit, and all the love to all of you who are here. Special shout out to Connie and Masha, my moderators. Connie, I'm sorry I didn't thank you last time. You're just doing such a wonderful job in supporting all of us in this group, and it's just beautiful. So, and Masha is I'm her #1 fan. You guys can follow her on her YouTube channel. She's one of the most beautiful artists that I know. She's a dancer, and she's from Montpellier in southern France, and she travels around Europe or all over the world and performs. Just a beautiful contemporary artist. So much more than just a dancer. She does energy work through her dance. That's the best way that I can kind of summarize what she does. So she's a very special person to me, and the channel, she's always brought good energy here. So I'm very thankful to call her my friend, my good friend. Okay, so now I'm getting sentimental. I have Venus in Cancer, and I'm sorry about that. The first thing I wanted to show you guys is this. So I pulled a lot of my crystals that were not around out, and I have this one out. Let's see if it's having a hard time focusing. You can focus. Oh, I don't know why. Maybe I set the setting too high. I made it really bright in this reading. So this is a Lemurian crystal. There we go. You can see the, sorry, I have something under my nail. So we have the Lemurian crystal here, and you can see the striations with the information. This is called a laser quartz, and so it's a twin, and it's just so beautiful. So this is what you saw in the thumbnail. So I hope it brings you good energy, and it's just glowing under this light. I set the lighting of this video to crazy frequencies, so sorry about that. Just insane. So anyway, so what we're going to do is a collective message today, and then we're going to get into the astrology. I'm going to save the all sign part of this to another day, because those 2-hour sessions are crazy, and today is a lot to take on anyway. So when we do a collective message, there will be many messages for each of you. So if one does not stick or does not resonate, just go on and just enjoy the other messages that come through. The point of today is to make you aware of this transit. I didn't want to blow it off. By the way, I did mention this transit already on Twitter. Twitter's really good for if you're into astrology and you want in the moment updates from me. like real time on what's going on astrologically, so you never miss a moon transit or a, you know, whatever transit, I have it all up to date for you there. And so I really recommend my Twitter. So, okay, so why don't we do the collective message first? So this will be a reading for everyone. If a message is not resonating, then please move on to the next message. And yeah, hopefully a few are helpful for you. Also, let me know if the sound is buggy. Let me know if it's too loud. I have background music playing right now, so tell me if it's too loud for you if you can't hear it, okay? All right, so let's rock and roll. So your first message is we have the Five of Cups as the first message. You know, this really makes sense with regard to the transits we're having now. This camera is definitely not auto-focusing today, which is rare. Okay, so Five of Cups. We'll do the first line and then we'll talk about it unless something strikes me. Six of Pentacles, Moon in Taurus. We're actually reading under Moon in Taurus right now. So the Moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus, which means that it is in its highest performance, highest quality. And then we have the Queen of Wands. I love this deck. You guys will see me use it a lot. It's just so beautiful. Queen of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries, water sign frequencies, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. And then we have the Star frequency. Sometimes that represents fate or destiny. Sometimes it represents the sign of Aquarius. Sometimes it represents a soulmate. And so then we have the Empress frequency also, and that's Venus. And Venus is in Virgo now at about 11 degrees already. Whew. Venus moves super fast. Didn't she just enter Virgo? Venus is very quick. Okay, so first of all, I think that there is some sadness that's going on around, and everybody is dealing with some degree of melancholia, sadness, you know, just some kind of, I don't know, Five of Cups, you know. So maybe something didn't work out how you wanted it to. Maybe somebody didn't understand what you mean. Maybe there's regret for the past. I've been picking up on a lot of regret from the past. So many people are feeling, you know, if I did this or if I did that, maybe it would be different. But I think that this is really going to take a positive direction now. And the activation of the astrology I'm about to tell you about is going to be to do with regretting the past or hoping for a different tomorrow and being able to achieve that, okay? And so I feel like many of you have learned lessons about generosity in the recent past, such as giving to others or, you know, giving and taking in equal amounts, being generous of spirit, and being mindful towards others. And just that's been really the forefront of your consciousness, the forefront of your mind. Women, I mean, we're in this fire frequency, regardless of what your sign is. We are the Queen of Wands. This represents that at this time, you know, you're vibing. If you have strong feminine frequencies, if you're a woman or if you identify as more effeminate, you're shining bright. Leo season is doing us good things. And so Juno is also in a fire sign in Sagittarius. And so there's this like brightness to women at this time. If you're attracted to women, holy moly, I feel like you're probably drawn to so many women at this time. Every single one has something special about them. Every single one is shining in their own way. And there's just some beauty. The most beautiful qualities of women are coming out in that spiritual way. For the masculine, this is a huge card to get in this position. This is representative of the fact that either if you're a man or you have masculine frequencies, this could be a good indication that you're in the right place for your life at this time. We sort of meander around our trajectory, right? Like the direction you were meant to go. Sometimes we go one way, sometimes we go another way, and we sort of go back and forth like that. And so there's moments in which this meandering crosses the trajectory line, and we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing in the direction we're meant to go. So this is a reminder for all the men out there who are watching that you're currently on your perfect path, and you're essentially going in the right direction, or you are doing what you're meant to be doing, and yeah, you're just right in the right framework. If you are in relationships with men, this is a symbol that there is some magical connection coming to you and your partner. This could mean that this is a time in which you will meet a soulmate, when there is a special connection that's coming up, especially if you already feel that happening for you. If you feel that there's this, something is pulling you towards a certain direction, that, you just feel like something is going on. This is an indication that if you are in relationships with men, there's something really happening for you there that's fateful or fated. Okay, and then here we have, so in communities, in groups of people that we spend time with, friends or families or so forth, the mother figure is extremely important right now, whether it's your mother or a mother-like figure. So the matriarchy is super strong in these communities, and so turn to your mother figures at this time to really set the pace and set the direction for what's going on. The feminine is just bursting out in positive energy. And so therefore I feel like there's so much bounty over here, and yet you're still recovering a certain degree of sadness, a little bit of disappointment, but I do feel like that's going to have a very fast turnaround. We've been through some intense transits, and when we're under intense transits, what happens is we have intense experiences, and we're not robots, at least most of us aren't, right? Beep, beep. But those intense transits cause us to have intense experiences, and sometimes it takes longer than a day or two to recover, and that's okay. You have to process all your stuff. Okay, so let's see the next line. So we have the Magician. Very, very strong cards, you guys. Very optimistic. Okay. And then we have the Last Judgment. The Last Judgment. Let me see if I can fix this. Sorry to interrupt the reading, you guys. Let me see if I can fix the video a little bit, because this is just, I don't think it's going to be nice for anyone. So let's see if I can. What I did was I maximized certain settings, and I think that it's making the whole thing kind of wonk out. So let's try this. But I changed settings on both the software and on the hardware, and so I'm not guaranteeing I can fix this, but let's hope this is better. Okay, next card. Yeah, it's the hardware. I can't change it right now. Sorry. So we have the High Priestess next for the next frequency. We have all higher arcana in the second row. So far, we have the Seven of Wands. Very beautiful card. Let me see. There we go. Seven of Wands, so you can see. And now we have the Three of Swords. Okay. So disappointment, when they say that, like, right away, let's start with this one for this row. This is Saturn in Libra. So if you have Saturn in Libra, my brother has Saturn in Libra, and I know that people born in 1981, have Saturn in Libra, and some people in 1980 as well, and 1982. So that's a tough transit. And then again, people born 29 years after that. So in their kids, right? That would have been like 10 years ago. So yeah. Saturn in Libra, it coordinates with the rooster in the Chinese zodiac. And I feel like that transit is really tough. I feel if you have that transit, you have to earn everything you get, and there's not many shortcuts. So it's that informs this card for me, the meaning of this card. But this is, you know, when they say that, like, when you get hurt, sometimes the situation is actually doing something good for you instead of, you know, bad, in the sense that something that you wanted is being removed from your life. You're not getting what you want. But if it had stayed, it would have been a tower. It would have been much worse. So whatever has gone on that has upset you, this is a reminder that there's a better outcome for this. There's a better trajectory. There's an overcoming point. And there's a healing here. So I sense that some of you have like suffered or gone through a personal loss of some sort, and something that you wanted didn't work out, and it's made you incredibly upset. A dissolution of a situation or circumstances around you that has hurt your heart a lot. But this is a reminder that that situation was hurting you, or that situation was not taking you in a good direction. And so this is a friendly reminder that you know, there's how do you say, I hate telling people it's for the best, but I think that this position is saying that it happened for a good reason. Okay, so let's go over the rest of the cards. This really had me super excited for you. This is a reminder that around you, in your family, or in your close proximity, there's someone who has a great power. This could be a family member. This could be someone in your family who has a great ability to help you at this time and help you to move forward. And so I feel like there's powerful people in your lineage, there's powerful people in your family who are helping you through these circumstances. It really feels like this is not an ancestors or a spirit guide messages, but it really feels like, it feels very ancestral. It feels very like spirit guides are with us at this time, and they're just saying, don't worry, whatever sadness you have gone through, just don't worry about it, because the path you're on is extremely bright. It's kind of to do with the astrology. So the premise of the astrology, so I'm not trying to tease you, I just want to organize the reading well. The basic premise is that the astrology at first glance this week can seem negative or challenging or problematic. But when you delve a little bit deeper, and when you look at it from the perspective I'm going to show you in a minute, it's actually one of the best types of skies we're under. And coming off of the last couple weeks, it could have been extremely volatile, or it could have had things happen that were incredibly difficult to deal with. And so many of you are battered. Many of us are battered coming through that. There's a lot of like deep heart kind of centered difficulties that we faced. And so now that we're coming through this week, there's not necessarily a resolution, but it could feel like these transits that are upcoming are mind-boggling and difficult. And maybe aspects of them will be, but the real juice is that there's perfection in the sky right now, and there's such a lifting going on that you want to be aware of this. And I really am happy to see that you have people around you who are like, your matriarch is in your vicinity, you know, like the matriarchal energy is with you. And then we have the family like strength and power, you know, like the family MVP is stepping up to bat, you know. And then we have the last judgment here, which is also a nice omen. This is saying that sometimes making a final decision or a last decision on something, a critical decision, is going to lift you up. So the fact you've made the decisions you've had recently is actually the instrumental point, even though some of that may feel uncomfortable at times. And this is all motivated by your inner voice and your inner vision, which is the high priestess. So you've had understanding. Now, we all process vision and intuition at different levels, right? So some people have vision, some people work with their intuition, are very conscious of what's going on. But for many people, this is just thoughts and feelings, kind of instincts about things. All of these things work on the same principle. And you've been guided, something inside you has told you to make the decisions you've recently have. And that's been your strength. That's been your cornerstone. And so, yeah, you've had a lot of strength from understanding, not necessarily from just a logical perspective, but really from an intuitive perspective. You understand that the decisions you've made were the right ones. And I think that's where you're shining so bright, because you know you've acted with authenticity and truth with regard to your situations, and regardless of whether the situation is all easy and perfect or there's things to take care of, you feel satisfied and fulfilled for having made the right choices and taken the right steps. So just a really good, it's like a chiropractor's appointment where they align you, like you've been aligned, and it's just, you feel great now. Okay, so part of this I can see where the sadness or the challenge comes, because whenever we stand up for ourselves, whenever we stand up for what we believe in, we invariably alienate ourselves from some people. Some people don't understand what we're talking about. Some people just can't process where we're coming from. And so, sorry about this, guys. I was so excited to do this reading. I'm a Virgo, so like little things like this irritate me. I want it to be perfect. But anyway, so the Seven of Wands here is saying that in certain aspects, some of these decisions you've been making have been alienating you, and there is a facet to it that's heartbreaking, because some people are not going to go with you where you're going, and that's okay. It's just a hard realization sometimes, because you wish that they could or were able to accept you. Okay, so we're going really slow. I hope you don't mind, but we're not doing the sign by sign reading today. So we have the 10 of Cups. Okay, going to do another row. I think I need to overlap them. I zoomed in too close for this. Okay, so let's see. So that's okay. Let's see. 10 of Cups. And then we have the, I don't know which card this is. This is the Ace of Wands. Very exciting energy. The new beginning is still underway. I think that there could have been certain obstacles to your new beginning that's starting. And I think it's sort of like orienting around the fact that Ace of Wands, like, that some people could not accept this direction. I feel like, I just feel like there's been delays to this new beginning, but this is a confirmation that you're still moving forward. You may have actually been discouraged by people around you who don't understand what's going on to like deter you from this direction. Then we have the 9 of Swords. I like the 9 of Swords. In the traditional association, this is Mars in Gemini, but in the modern, this is Venus in Gemini. So think about that. The masculine in the traditional and the feminine in the modern sense rule this card. I like the significance of that and the juxtaposition between the two frequencies. Then we have the 5 of Pentacles. So this is Saturn in Taurus, okay? No, this isn't Saturn in Taurus. This is Mars in Taurus. Mars in Taurus, okay. And then it's the 9 of Wands. Moon in Taurus. 9 of Wands is Mercury and, Moon in Taurus. Moon in Sagittarius, sorry. Okay, so let's talk about the third row. So in the personal, in your immediate environment, I think that you've taken, the world is celebrating around you. Those who are closest to your family and people who are in perfect alignment to you, it's like everything's perfect. but you're still a little bit sad because in the outer aspects of your social life, let's say the 10th house or so, not everybody gets it. In your 11th house, not everyone gets it. So let's take it a little bit further and look at the third line. Okay, so I think that choices, okay, so this is the message about this. Choices about your happiness are difficult to make because sometimes they inconvenience others, but they're hard to make. I feel like you've had to make decisions to make yourself happy. I feel like there's things that you want to create or you want to become, and that would make you happy. And I don't think it's necessarily that everybody in your environment is going to understand where you're going and where you're evolving to. But I sense that the reward is your happiness. And those people who are dissatisfied with your changes, they can just go find happiness somewhere else. It's not, you're not there to be their toy or their object to play with, right? So your unhappiness in a situation does not validate theirs. They can simply, if they're unhappy, they can change, right? They can change their perspective or they can go in a different direction. And so I think that this is really owning your happiness and making a decision for yourself here. And I feel like with the Ace of Wands, this continues, even though there have been obstacles, even though you felt certain discouragement because other people have been naysaying. They don't get your vision. They don't get your point. And so yes. And I think that, you know, this Nine of Swords in this position specifically, I think you've been dealing with bouts of suffering because you've been in the wrong environment. You've dealt with bouts of suffering and sadness because the environment you've been in has simply been not in alignment to you. Not all your environments, but maybe one in particular was really misaligned. And so by continuing a relationship, a situation, participating in it, you kept on, you know, seeing the consequences of the misalignment. What comes to mind, and I don't mean to trigger anyone, is like relationships with narcissists. Some people choose to remain in relationships with narcissists. I don't mean romantic relationships. Sometimes they have a parent who's narcissistic. Sometimes they have a child who's narcissistic. And so there's all sorts of relationships that can't really be undone with narcissists sometimes. And so a person chooses to have a relationship with a narcissist. And so when that happens, when that's happening, there's a constant cloud hanging over them because the narcissist is just not capable to interact on a humane way with other people. And so you will treat them like a human does with emotions, but they in turn keep on letting you down, which is hurtful to you. So this is what's ending. This is the bigger picture. So now I see what kind of changes, what's motivating these changes, which is a relationship or a situation. It doesn't have to be with a narcissist. This was just an example that I've heard about a lot recently. So yeah, that just came to mind. But it's a situation in which, you know, a part of it sucks. And by being inside of that situation, you're going to maybe have a few good days and then boom, you're going to have like a wake-up call here and there. You're going to have your Nine of Swords coming up. So I think that the changes you're making is removing yourself from that situation and removing yourself from that trajectory. And now it's time for alignment again. Okay, so it's going to take some time. You know, when you take big steps, when you move, for example, you move to a different city and you don't know anyone, let's say you move for work, it takes sometimes time to find alignment with like-minded people in this new space, right? So here we're being reminded that because you've taken big steps and stood up for yourself in a certain manner, it's going to take time to find the right people and the right frequency and get to know them and build bonds and so forth. So take time with that, be patient with that, there is definitely, good energy coming towards you, but don't be discouraged in the immediate moment if at times that's shifted. I mean, the trade-off is like your happiness and your vindication and your insight and feeling good about yourself in exchange for all those people who were not supporting you anyway. That was just a facade. So yes, on some level it felt like you weren't alone, like somebody had your back. But on a deeper level, they never really did they? That situation was conditional love or conditional acceptance, whatever. It was not necessarily there. So now you may feel like that superficial facade is sort of, missing. You may not have your friend to call, or there may be like an absence there. But now there's room for authentic relationship to fill that situation. And then we have the 9 of Wands. Okay. And so, I feel like the main message here is don't coop yourself up just because in a temporary moment you feel a certain bit of discouragement. Put yourself out there. Don't jump to conclusions with the first person you meet that this is your new best friend, that this is the solution. Don't be desperate, but put yourself out there. Make yourself available. Don't withdraw from other people. This reminds me, sorry you guys, I know most of my followers and people who watch me are in America, and I live in Canada, and I've received some news stories that have verified that the Delta strain of the thing, right, that is contagious even when you have a vaccine. And so I don't mean to get on my podium, but I'm worried that this information is not available in the US. And what I feel about that is that what I heard, and this was on Twitter, through a Canadian reputable news agency, is that it spreads even when you have the thing, right? The pokey. And so I want to encourage all you guys, whether you have the pokey or not, is to wear masks and in public before they tell you to do it, just to avoid another, why don't we step ahead of the curve and consciously be aware of what the science is telling us and just simply wear masks in public again. It will greatly reduce transmission and protect people. So, I don't mean to be too preachy about this, but I was worried that maybe your news wasn't telling you that, and just a precaution, right? So yeah, just a reminder. But yeah, so this reminded me because it's like, don't coop yourself up, but at the same time, there is some indication that what we're dealing with is an acceleration of this situation. And so there's just wear a mask. It's not going to hurt anybody, and there's some of them are really cute too. I saw a girl with sparkly one, but just shining bright, and it was so nice. Okay. So just a reminder, if you're out there, it might be sound, you might protect your elders, you might protect your children, you might protect all sorts of different people just by being aware of that. Because, you have the pokey and you think you're protected and you're sort of, there's a false sense of safety, right? So I'm just reminding you that this may not be, it's a collective thing. In the US, it was a tragedy last year what happened. And why don't we just get ahead of it's not a big deal to wear a mask, right? I kind of like it. It gives me privacy. You put on a pair of sunglasses, nobody can see your face. You can sing in the mask. I love singing. I just sing, sing little songs and nobody thinks I'm crazy because I'm walking around singing. So it's good. I don't know. I'm not against it. So anyway, so just be wary of that. Okay, so last line and we'll get to the astrology, okay? Sorry, just watching out for my friends. Okay, so we have the Wheel of Fortune. And if somebody doesn't like it, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to be political, but this is just common sense, right? Okay, so Wheel of Fortune, Jupiter, Two of Pentacles, which is, Two of Pentacles is one of these associations between modern and traditional that's also funny. In the traditional Two of Pentacles is Saturn in Capricorn, and in the modern it's Jupiter in Capricorn. So Two of Pentacles means up and down, and so Saturn, I guess, is down and Jupiter is up. So there's like a balance there, a synchronicity there. Okay, and then we have the Page of Cups. Some kind of, oh, this is really sweet. Somebody's going to make you an offer. This is actually telling me that from that environment that was bringing you down, that you're moving on from, there's like someone who is going to reach out. So you may have felt like in the immediate moment that, you've lost everything by taking this stand. But I think that there's going to be people that are going to reach out to you. Then we have the Ten of Pentacles. You have very nice cards, you guys. Well, all of us do. Don't mind if I do. And then we have the Five of Wands. Okay, so I think that you're in an exploratory phase. You're entering a phase in which you're going to explore a lot of different things. On the bottom is the Seven of Swords. Moon in Aquarius, friends. Where are you at? There we are. There's our card. It's, this is the Seven of Swords. This reading, what we're talking about, is Seven of Swords energy. And what that is avoiding bad situations. That's the same thing with the masks, like being low-key about it. Just, just go somewhere. Like, just if you see a sign of worrisome things, just move on. And get your butt out of Yuma. Get out of the line of fire. Okay, so I feel like there's going to be a sudden upward positive movement of change. For some of you, this really has to do with a family member who's putting in positive energy into your life. So there's like a swift shift and an improvement. Somebody does something for you. Somebody gives you an opportunity, and it's going to come at you extremely fast. Okay. And then here, I think that this sort of process of up and down, the obstacles and the hope is so strong within you about where you want to go with things, that the obstacles that have been coming up, they're sizable, like the discouragement of people you care about and so forth. Those things are important. But the hope is so strong within you about what you want and what you hope for, that those obstacles are not nearly big enough to hold you back. And I think you're being taught this at this time. And I just saw exactly what your motivation is. Your motivation is sharing and giving and increasing the connectivity, interconnection between yourself and others, the giving and the taking in your relationships. So we talked about the Page of Cups. Somebody's holding back on coming back in, but they will be coming back in from that environment. So let me clarify. It's very likely that you took a stand that took some people out of your life, some situations. It's like quitting a job and never thinking you're going to see your coworkers again, because you had to leave your job and maybe it wasn't under the best conditions. And so you will actually hear from one of them or maybe a couple of them. They're thinking about it at this time. They have the intention to contact you. Now, this does not necessarily mean a job, but someone, the situation in which you took a stand and removed yourself, chose you over being unhappy with others, there is going to be some type of person that reaches out from that. You probably already know who it is. It's the person you care about most from that group. Or if it's just one person, then you'll hear from them. Okay. And I think that this is you claiming your territory, because when you're not, when you're living underneath the demands of ideologies or beliefs or situations that just don't vibe with you, you're going to be constantly swept away from what you want and what's good for you. So even though it's been a hard process of choosing you and taking that step, you're actually choosing your home, your territory, And that's going to lead to your ultimate happiness because it's your terms and it's what you need. It's not about you being selfish and saying, oh, I want everything for myself. But this is about you saying, okay, I need things to be this way for me. I can't live along your paradigms because they're not working for me. And so this is we talked about this is your exploration. So essentially you don't have to know what it is yet. You don't have to know where it is you're going. You just have to know that you're going. So, and that's okay. So many times we're taught by movies. We're raised by movies, right? All of us have watched movies since we were kids. And movies have been central, like before computers, even if you're older, before computers, I mean, TV and movies were like the thing that got us through. I don't think people who are younger appreciate how isolated the generations were before computers. And so we had friends and stuff, but even a way to like set up plans, you couldn't text in the moment. And so many people, and like culturally speaking, many people, especially in small towns, who were removed from the big cities, who were not in New York and Vancouver, in LA, they just could see in a magazine. I remember in early 2004, and I don't mean to age myself, I used to like really be into these Japanese fashion magazines from Tokyo, and I was introduced to them by my hairdresser, and like it was like finding those styles was like you literally look through books to find them, and you had to wait for someone to publish it, and so it was like a whole world away. Now you just click on a button and you can see all that stuff. So I think it's a bit of a tangent, but I just started thinking about how we were so isolated before. I did some content on Twitter about generational stuff, so that's where my mind is at. But essentially, I think that, there's this connectivity. Oh, and so you need to explore a bit. The idea is that we're raised by movies. That's what I was getting at. And we're taught that we need an answer. We need this, fairy tale answer. We need this climax kind of situation. And that's really not how life is. Life is incremental. There are moments of catharsis. There are moments of like a heightened experience. But overall, most of us go through like incremental experiences that build on top of each other and weave into a matrix, and there you have your life, right? So you don't have to don't feel there's within us, like I was saying, there's this need for a Hollywood ending. But I think that at the same time, that's not really how life is. So you at times of stress or change or transformation, we may get triggered back to thinking about, I want my sunset scene, the situation. But I think that don't look for that, because it'll make you unhappy. Look for what kind of things you can bring in around you at this time, that makes sense. So where is the resonance coming from? That was incredibly long, but I'm glad we did it because the message is really good for you guys. Everyone who's in the comments, I'll read your comments later. I'm about to do the astrology, so I'm excited about that. Let me show you the astrology. So this is the astrology now. Sorry, my window's gibbled. That's okay. Let's just get through this before I mess it up, because there's a lot of things I'm trying to remember, and whenever I do that, I mess things up. So first, let's talk about the moon, because that's, a good place to start. This chart is for today, actually. It's for an hour ago. And so the moon just passed its exalted point and is still in Taurus, forming a conjunction to Uranus. And so there's a spark of, let's start with Uranus this week. Actually, no. So the moon, I know where to start. The main point of this week is that we have a syzygy between Mercury and the Sun. A syzygy is when the Sun and usually the Moon, but also Mercury, are in the exact same position. So it's going to be right in the center of the 8th degree, I don't know, 48 minutes or something, there's going to be a direct conjunction as Mercury moves past the sun. So this happens a couple times, because every single time there's like a retrograde period, there's a reset and a back and forth between these two transits. And so Mercury is now passing the sun after its retrograde period in Gemini. That's too much information. I'm nervous, forgive me. And so everything this week is structured around this conjunction, because, in some way, this is like the PowerPoint. Furthermore, there's a lot of aspects on this point this week. What does the conjunction between Mercury and the sun represent? Well, if you think about manifestation is connected to logos, which is a Latin term for the word. And so everything begins with the word, which is Mercury, communication. Mercury is the magician. And so the sun is our essence of being. And so there's a perfect alignment between what we're saying, what we're communicating, and what we are. And so therefore there's an activation point for creating and moving forward with things with this aspect. So the reason I kind of jumped into this part is this week on Thursday, starting on Wednesday with Mercury, and then a couple days after with the sun, we're going to form a square to Uranus. And so the message from that, so Uranus is in Taurus and these conjunctions are in Leo. Those are fixed signs and they're forming a square this week. When this happens, I believe, and I'm just going to get to the point, essentially what we are feeling comfortable with right now, what we're actualizing between Mercury and the sun, like the syzygy, like what's happening right now, what are we manifesting into this moment, it's being challenged by new things that are coming up. So Uranus is bringing in new opportunities, things to distract us, things to pay attention in a different direction. And so just at the moment when you're feeling on top of your game and you know what you want and all of this stuff, Uranus throws you a curveball. It's like when you're walking down the street and your friend throws a snowball at you and like they yell at you to turn around and catch it. It kind of takes you out of your moment. Anyway, I heard in Brazil there was snow this week because it's so cold there right now. And I saw all these people in Brazil playing with snow. So I guess that's where that kind of metaphor came from. But yeah, this square is going to happen. It's going to distract you from what's going on. And when I tell you about the main astrology that I'm about to get to, it's going to be even more accentuated by that. So the main frequency of this week's astrology is that we're really focusing in on what's best for ourselves, this high priestess here. We're very much focused in on ourselves, on our best path and the best way forward. That's why any kind of discouragement is really not going to do very well in discouraging us, because what's right for us is very much actualized or activated by certain transits, including this conjunction between Mercury and the sun. So just to remind you, Uranus is forming a square to Mercury and the sun this week, in the latter part of the week. It's not so bad. The other thing that I want to mention is the new moon. The new moon happens on the 8th in the morning, and we'll do a series of videos or something towards the end of the week about that. So I'm not going to talk about it, but it's going to be square Uranus at 16 degrees of Leo. And it's going to be sort of on the tail end of the current transit that we're dealing with now. So it's kind of the next part. So I'm not going to talk about the new moon here, but just so you know, next Sunday, a new moon is happening in Leo, okay, at 16 degrees. Nice new moon, but it is squaring Uranus, so we'll talk about that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay, and so now let's go back to the moon. Remember how I was telling you the moon is in several signs this week. So if you have placements in Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, does it get into Leo? Yeah, it gets into it gets into Leo on next weekend, of course, for the new moon. So these, if you have transits in these signs, that means that the moon is transiting through your sun sign, rising, Venus, Mars, any aspect you want. Or if you have like this in your first house, let's say your first house is ruled by Leo, but actually most of your first house, let's say that your first house is ruled by Aries, but actually most of your first house is Taurus, that counts you too. So any significant placement, the moon is over your transits at this time throughout this week. I really recommend my Twitter for my moon transits because the moon's fast, so it's really like good to have the information up to the minute. So go follow me there for more info on that. Okay, so let's talk about the big kahuna. So the big transit, the one that I'm really excited about, is the opposition between Saturn and the Sun. And so Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius. It's in rulership in Aquarius. And the Sun is in Leo, and it's in rulership in Leo. What does it mean when they're in rulership? It means that they are in the sign that they rule, and so they're very powerful in those positions. And so this opposition between Saturn and the Sun has us versus the systems around us, making sure that everything's okay, that there's no power imbalance, that we're not taking too much, or that they're not taking too much from us. And to add to this, Mercury, because of the syzygy, because of the conjunction, is participating in this. And so therefore, there's a lot of force that is applied to this standoff. Personal planets, transits, the Sun and Mercury stand off against our social planet, Saturn. And so everything in your life that has to do with you against the people you interact with, the communities, I didn't even think of this when I was reading, gets really hammered out. So if somebody's taking too much from you, I don't think it's going to fly. Or if you're taking too much from someone else, then I don't think it's going to fly either. So this standoff energy is actually one in which you want to be very upright. You want to be right in your action. The reason you're not getting a video is because I have other responsibilities I have to fulfill, and so I rather do this style video and then put off making the more like edited videos or whatever for other transits. So I'm honoring everything, even though I would prefer to do the other video for this, as this has been very long-winded and not for everyone. So I know some of you guys like it, but as you can tell, it was like a critical decision in the last minute. Either tell them or, just put it off. So I chose to tell you. So this opposition is highest tomorrow, actually. And so it's moving in today, tomorrow, and into next week. There will be the opposition between Saturn and the Sun. And again, whatever is out of balance or unfair, us versus them, and them not being the government, but more like, well, maybe like, not you versus the giant system. It's more like you versus the things you need to do and your immediate environment, your immediate things that you're doing with respect to other people. It's very matter of fact. So whatever like if you promise to do something for someone, for example, they represent your friends and your environment. And let's say you've put off doing this for your friend. This is a time in which you're meant to step up and do what you said you would do. Likewise, if your friend has been promising you something, then this is the time in which they need to fulfill their obligation to you. If your mechanic has said they'll fix your car and they've been putting it off, This is the time in which they're supposed to do what they're intended to do. And so this is a karmic transit, which means that the person who doesn't do what they're supposed to do is going to have repercussions from it. And I'm not like a finger wagger, but it really is a transit of that energy. So you'll hear different astrologers talk about this in different ways, but this transit, many people would describe as like really negative or kind of dangerous or kind of like heavy. But actually, I'm switching something for you guys so I can show you. This is the master plan. We're on to the part that I really want to tell you about. So many astrologers would describe this as a negative energy because it's going to be in some way bursting your bubble from what you want and challenging what you want vis-a-vis others. But here we go. I've talked about this on Twitter and I've posted something on the community feed about this already. So let me show you what I see. What I see is this. And so we're already under this. And if you know a little bit of astrology, someone actually caught this last week and left me a comment. They said, "Oh, this looks like the Star of David." And I was like, yes, actually not yet, but don't tell them. This is what I'm about to tell them. But yeah, this is the Star of David, which is considered one of the most benefic transits in astrology. This is why this reading is called the perfect sky, because it denotes perfection. I know in this chart there's no lines between Chiron and Saturn and the North Node, but trust me, they're there. And so this is how an opposition between Saturn and the Sun transforms under a bigger aspect called the Star of David into perfect balance. And so the Star of David is comprised of several kites. There's several mystic rectangles here going on. There's two grand trines, one in air, in Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. The second in fire, Sag, Aries, and Leo. And so there's a perfect harmony. Now, in the Star of David, there's a couple different manifestations of it. And this one is special because it's actually perfectly aligned. So sometimes the grand trines are not exactly symmetrical, and so the transits between them are not 60 degrees, they're not sextiles, and so they're not always this symmetrical, but this is the perfect representation of it. So let's talk about it a little bit and then we'll move on, but this is the real deal Holyfield stuff. So the idea that it's like us against Saturn, us against the system in some way, is being mediated by other transits. And so you want to kind of take a look at it as two separate parts. We have the South Node representing past lives in Sagittarius, Chiron, internal healing, in Aries, to do with identity, I am. And so redefining your identity, and then Mercury and the Sun in Leo. And so again, sort of bringing healing to past lives, your self-identity, working closely in a grand trine frequency in the fire signs. That's why also the feminine is coming up so strong like this, the Queen of Wands, because this grand fire trine over us is just very powerful. And it's nice because it's not a lunar grand trine. It's a solar one, which means that it'll be around for a couple days. So it's not going to be like you missed it yesterday, it's gone, but it's happening now. And so what it's doing for you is healing self-confidence issues. It's really healing, anything from your early life through past lives that has taught you to believe you're less than, and the consequences on that in your life, which is Chiron in Aries, and all the series of experiences that you had who have shaped who you are, who have either shown you that you're not where you need to be or you're somehow deficient. The I am, which is Aries' motto, is addressed here. So if you feel like you're not who you're meant to be, this gets reconciled really quickly with this grand fire trine. the second grand fire trine. And so the south node has to do with the past. So this has to do with letting go of situations and vibrations and circumstances that hold us back, in which we choose to allow them to hold us back by clinging to these old ideas, thought forms of who we are. And so this is a healing grand trine. And this is juxtaposed, right, to the air sign grand trine, and that includes Vesta, Saturn in Aquarius. Vesta is in Libra. She's just entered Libra too. I forgot to mention that. And then the North Node in Gemini, and Ceres is here in Gemini too. She's just entered last night into Gemini. So Ceres in Gemini is really great for the brain. So this, in terms of spirit, your fire spirit is being healed from the past. And your cognition, your thought forms, your thoughts moving forward are being inspired. And the walls of Saturn's restructuring walls in your life, breaking them down literally, and allowing you to move forward. Whatever blockages are happening in your life, they're being removed, especially with regard to ideas of I can't, or this is not possible. Thoughts like that. Now you see that it's possible. You see the possibility in the trajectory. And then Vesta. Now Vesta's misunderstood often. Vesta is the sister of Jupiter, and she chose to be a virgin, and she bequeathed herself to Jupiter to serve him as a servant, because he allowed her to not have to marry. I think Apollo and Neptune wanted to marry her, and she was like, no, I'm not interested. I want to be celibate. I want to do my own thing. And what she represents is actually just being in harmony with who you are. Being in harmony with who you are, with your natural skills and abilities, and acting in full faith with who you are, and going in that direction irregardless of what other people say. So this is really poignant, and I didn't think about this when we drew the cards, but here's Jupiter, right? Mercury, Jupiter, and the Magician, in some way that this is the family. Remember, I was telling you, the family member who helps you to be independent, the family member who allows you to be sovereign and stand up for yourself, to work through your natural abilities so you can grow into your domain, so you can create the life that you want. So you're getting that support from people around you. And that Vesta in Libra with Saturn over there is in some way challenging the narratives that put you in a certain place at a certain time, right? So you no longer have to be in that. And those are trining the North Node, right? And so the North Node is your way forward in Gemini. Still conjunct Aldebaran, almost not though. I know you guys are probably sick of me hearing me say this, but the point is that you're not going to hear me say this for 18 years. And this is it, folks. You want to go in the direction you're meant to go in. You're meant to embrace that path and have hope and optimism, regardless of little petty disappointments or little minute things in the way. The way forward is so inspiring at this time. And this conjunction, if you haven't been watching my videos, there's a star here called Aldebaran, and for 2 months I've been telling you the North Node is with Aldebaran. Your path forward is cleared. Your path forward is cleared. You're meant to go now, go down that path. And so the special thing is that the North Node is in this position only once every 18 years. And so this Star of David is an activation point, in which it activates the release of the past and these healing to do with our identity, self-concept, forgiving ourselves for who we are not and embracing who we are with pride and dignity, and then moving forward with this Aquarian Grand Trine, not this Aquarian Grand, kind of is, but this Air Grand Trine, and moving forward with clarity of vision, clarity of what we want. So it takes kahunas to make a stand and to stand up for yourself. And at first people won't understand, but then slowly but surely they'll catch on. So have confidence because you're avoiding this. The fact that you were getting hurt in your previous situations is the indication that you weren't in the situation you were meant to be in. The fact that there was situations that were coming up that were hurtful to you was an indication that you were experiencing something, you were allowing something into your life that wasn't truly your frequency. And so now with the Star of David, you're allowed to move forward. And I'm so excited to tell you this. You can hear about it already. So this is the main presentation, but I have a little couple more very exciting things. So first I'll tell you some other kind of information about the Star of David. If you're interested in more about this, we can do like a deeper dive, but let me tell you some other things so you're familiar just generally with the energy. And then I'm going to tell you guys what signs are impacted by this the most. Now, all the signs are impacted by this, but certain signs are going to get hit hardest. And also, I'm going to tell you guys which years are most impacted by this. So you want to stay tuned for that. I'm glad that I broke up this reading because I don't know if I could carry on with this energy for, it would have been 3 hours, right? So this week, there was I think in June, there was a paper that was published with regard to the shape of the universe. Now, it's been some years that it's been postulated at what is the shape of the universe? Like, what is it? Is it a globe? Is it a sphere? Whatever. The universe is a donut, okay? So it's a toroidal field. It's very likely. It's still like a, how do you say? It's a hypothesis. It's an educated hypothesis. But there was a scientific paper that was published in which there was some kind of evidence to the effect of proving that there's something going on with the universe that makes it a torus. Not a torus like the bull, but torus like a donut. It looks like a donut. So it sort of like flips in on itself like a donut. Imagine the perimeter of a donut. This is the universe, not the galaxy, the universe. And so these toroidal fields are like a big topic in sacred geometry. I'm kind of on the fence about sacred geometry stuff, frankly. I like the science side of things a lot more. But I personally feel that what we're experiencing in this third dimension is an expression of the fourth dimension. So the fourth dimension is time, and if you know a little bit about science, we're only able to perceive 3 dimensions. So everything that happens in the fourth dimension, we only see as a third dimensional expression of that, so it seems very weird to us. So we're not able to see anything more than what we're perceiving. We're just we're bound to the third dimension in terms of our understanding of things. And so I believe that the fact that they're seeing this evidence that the universe is a donut is an expression of the fact that we're bound by our perception, by our scientific measurements and so forth. We can't see anything else. So I don't think it's actually a donut. I just think that we're seeing it as a donut because of what the fourth dimension is doing through our dimension. So there's something else going on that makes it look like a donut to us or seem like a donut to us. But anyway, so everything through this perspective, and I believe like things replicate each other in symmetry throughout the universe, not necessarily sacred geometry, but some aspect of that. The Earth is here at the center, right? And so we have this ring of planets. We're bringing it back to our astrology. And so the reason Star of David is so beautiful is because it is sort of a donut. You know, you can see the perimeter. I know it's a hexagon. It's a hexagon. Yeah, it's a hexagon. But it's sort of got the circular, surrounded by 1, 2, 3, 6. I should know this hexagon. I'm just excited. Sorry. 6 sextiles, right? Activation points and the balance of energies between air and fire. If you have air and fire transits, this is your stuff. especially if you're in the mid degrees of those placements. So 5th degree through like 10th degree, 12th degree, or so forth. Those are the strongest areas hit. So if you have sun, moon, rising in the fire or air signs in the mid degrees, you're there. But I feel like the reason this Star of David is so amazing is because it sort of creates this torus of frequency between the two grand trines, and it stabilizes them. And so in some way it kind of feeds in on us here in the center, right? So it creates this symmetrical balance, not sacred geometry. I'm not talking about that here. So that's exciting. The reason it's called the Star of David is they say the King David, the king of the Jews, right? Ancient Jews. He was known to be a very skillful man with like, just there's so many. He's just prolific person. And so he was born apparently underneath this symmetry. And so he was kind of unstoppable. He was the man. He was the man with the plan. And so these aspects are blessings for anybody who has them. Now, typically, I mean, I'm using a modified chart here by using Vesta. Vesta's a beautiful, beautiful asteroid, so leave her alone. Like, she just breeds, she breeds the natural ability. So when we're talking about this grand trine in air, Vesta, what she brings into it is your natural skills and talents. What you do well without thinking about it too much, what comes naturally to you, what comes purely from your soul. And so that's a very nice aspect to Saturn, because Saturn actually really likes that natural ability. Saturn gets picky about things being awkward or stumbling over yourself. So when it's interacting with something that has flow, it just gives it so much beauty. And this activation point in air is just phenomenal. So if you have air transits, this is your jam. So that's the two things I kind of wanted to give you about the Star of David. That I think it's a donut. It's an expression of the fourth dimension through our dimension. And so all these points are, if you like pull a trampoline, like when people try to catch someone jumping from a building and everyone sort of pulls at each side to make it like a complete and balanced. This is sort of the similar energy. It's sort of like a donut where it kind of feeds, all this energy feeds on itself, interacting in all these frequencies. There's like mystic rectangles like I showed you. There's like there's kites here all over the place. It's all of these transits are constantly working together. And it's a transit that's known for being blessed and higher frequencies, and it's just a really beautiful transit. So it's perfection in the sky. So if you're hearing someone say, oh, the energy is really intense, yeah, in some ways it is. The sun is squaring Saturn, and Sun-Saturn opposition, but I think that that's greatly overshadowed by this. And so be excited. This is a good transit. So the last thing I want to kind of go over with you guys today is some of the, so we said that the transits that are most impacted by this are the fire transits and the air transits in the mid degrees. If you're new to astrology, that's Sagittarius, Aquarius, Aries, Gemini, Leo, and Libra. Okay, but I have some other alignments that with this frequency that are particularly heightened at this time. So you have to know how to look up your chart. You can go to alabe.com/free chart. I'm not sponsored. They gave me the software that I used years ago when I was promoting them, but this is not a sponsored video. They just have a calculator for your birth chart that you can use that's good. And so look up these transits and let me know. But I'm going to tell you, so if you have a North Node alignment, so this is, I feel, this is the climax of this transit. This is like how it affects us, where we're going with things. So if you have an alignment, meaning if you're having a North Node return, which happens when you're 18, 36, and 8, like 54, sorry about my math. But anyway, so if you have a conjunction of your North Node being in Gemini in this position, then this experience is heightened. It's doubly heightened if you have transits in the signs that I mentioned before. Now, water and earth transits, you're still relevant, but this is an air and fire transit mostly. So it affects all of us, but it's strongest for air and fire frequencies. So if you don't know how to look up this information, I looked it up for you. So if you were born in 1946 or 1947 in the winter time, so December through January, February, 1965 in the summer, 1984 in the spring, or 2002 in the autumn, you have North Node in Gemini in this area. And your North Node is conjunct Aldebaran, so you're winning by having this transit. I'm telling you right here. So this, you're getting the most powerful aspect off of this, in my opinion. So celebrate, congratulations. And if you were born around that time, so if let's say you were born in the autumn in 1965, it's still relevant, but less intense than if you were born in the summertime. Okay, so so you're getting the best transit. And then if you were born, so let's do Chiron. If you were born in 1971 in the spring, or 1972 to 73 in the wintertime, December to January, you're going through your Chiron return right now. So you're going through issues of identity, you know, who you've become through this time you're looking at, and whatever circumstances have left you in the circumstances you're in, be it your choices or your environmental factors. You're working through that and coming to terms with them at this time. It's a tough transit for all of us, but for Aries, it has to do with who you are and how you got to where you be, and whether you're satisfied with it or what things about it dissatisfy you, and how to reconcile that, right? So this transit is healing you if you were born in the dates I mentioned, and it's really helping you heal and come to terms with who you haven't become, who you wish you had become if those things did not happen. Okay, so so I have more. Oh, do I want to go through this? Okay, so no, Saturn. So let's talk about Saturn returns. If you were born in 1963 in the winter or the spring because of Saturn's retrograde period, or if you were born in 1992 from the spring to the fall, then you're going through your Saturn return, and it's exact. And so at this time, everything to do with structures in your life that you've built up a certain way. Let's say you built a house with a bad foundation. Saturn in its return is going to help you fix that, right? And sometimes that means demolishing the house, but sometimes it just means some renovations. So at this time, this Star of David formation is really accelerating that. You'll experience a lot more opportunity to change. I really encourage you to take that on and go and do that, whatever it is, right? So if you were born on those dates, definitely, you know, like take this advantage. 1963 to 1992 is your Saturn return. There's also a transit that I want to mention that's less positive. So if you are sensitive to hearing energy about energy that's working in a challenge capacity, you might want to say goodbye now. So it was nice to see you. Thank you for being here. But I'm going to tell you guys as just the last little bit, if you have certain placements. And I'm not telling you this to be negative or pessimistic. I'm actually telling you this so that you're not So you're like, oh, that's why it's like this. That's why it's all like vertigo in my life. So this is to encourage you to not be hard on yourself, because we all go through it. It happens once every 18 years. It happens to us all. I'm dreading mine. Mine's going to be in like 7 years, and I'm already counting down the days, 6 years. So anyway, it all happens. It just means it's only up from here, okay? So if you have your North Node in Sagittarius, in this position of about 9 degrees, then at this time, the energy is working in the opposite direction from where life is taking you. In fact, if you have your North Node in Sagittarius at this time, you may want to take the idea until the end of the year that you like take a breather, that you don't push yourself to try to achieve things or push or be really achievement focused, because I just think that like there's going to be a lot of things working not against you, but I think that it's like being inverted, like walking around on your hands, or just looking at the world from an inverted position. So the specific dates for the exact aspect to the Star of David that I described are if you were born in 1937 in the early fall, August to September, if you were born in 1956 in the spring, if you were born in 1974 in the autumn, or if you were born in 1993 in the summer, or if your kids were born in 2012 in the winter time, they're going to be they need a break through this. You don't need to push yourself through this. If things feel very strange, like life is pushing everyone else in a different direction than you it is, and so don't stress out about that. Don't feel like brokenhearted. Don't feel pessimistic. Just take it one step at a time. You're on vacation. Take more vacation time at this time. Spoil yourself. Go easy on yourself. Do easy things. The highlight of this, the silver lining, is it's only up from here. So this is like your new moon energy. It doesn't work like a new moon in terms of like, well, it sort of does. Set your intentions for what you want to come later. You're beginning your new 18-year cycle at this time. So it's almost like everybody is reconciling whatever stage they're in the North Node trajectory around the zodiac. You're not supposed, so they're doing their homework. You don't have to do homework. You don't have to do anything at this time. You're just waiting to start. So don't feel like you're missing out. You are sort of missing out, but it's your time to miss out. And so take it easy. So it's not a bad transit, but especially with this Star of David, you may feel like everybody's up to something. And when you're trying to make things happen, it's not necessarily happening in the way that you want it to be. So especially those of you who are ambitious, really take it easy with this transit. Don't get discouraged. It's not a bad transit. It's a vacation transit. We love vacation, so take a vacation. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And and I want to add that, again, I mentioned the time of year in which this happened. It's true for everyone who was born on those years in and around plus or minus 5 months, whatever. It's all affecting all of you, but it's specifically most heightened for the people in the time frames that I mentioned. Okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. This was I'm really glad I broke this up. I'm going to do a all sign reading probably on Monday, right? Oh, I wanted to show you Chiron. I knew I was forgetting something, so I have another treat. So one thing, if you're not getting notifications, sometimes the system's breaking. So just type #notify and the sign that you're wanting to get notified from by me. If there's a system problem, I'll email you or I'll message you. But also, if you've already done this, then you don't have to do it a second time. I just need it once. And so let me show you guys Chiron, just because people are curious. So this is actually a beautiful painting of Chiron, and it's ancient, so there's no copyright. But here's Chiron with Achilles. And so Chiron was a teacher. And so you can see he was hurt. You can see he had kind of gibbled hind legs. And so he was like a great healer and protector and just some wonderful energy. So there's a lot of healing going on with this Star of David. And, you know, I'm being very picky and analyzing the astrology to see that. But I hope that it gives you inspiration. Getting out of the way of bad things. 7 of Swords, you know, and going towards what inspires you. It feels good. It's a little bit of a trade-off, but I hope it's worth it, okay? Thank you guys so much. And wear your masks, people, because, you know, it's crazy out there. And I'm going to show you my crystal before we go. I don't think we're going to get any hope with it. You see? So pretty. Laser. I was going to do Reiki, but this is way enough energy for now. But I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and stay hopeful. Make this weekend meaningful. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Oh, and members, actually, everyone, the last 4 signs are going to be released on Tuesday or Wednesday this week, and then we'll get into the new moon reading. Thanks so much.